Okay, so could you tell us your name and who you are?
My name is Manoranjan Selliah, or I'll be called as Ignatius Selliah. And Manoranjan is my pen name. That's I use for my journalistic purpose. So I was a journalist, particularly writing about the civil war in Sri Lanka, but not a trained journalist. They are journalists by accident. And before becoming a journalist, I was a human rights activist. Even before that, I was a political activist. And before that, I was a militant. So, how I became a militant? It was because of the ethnic conflict in Sri Lanka. We were discriminated. We faced violence. We saw riots. We became refugees. So, at a time, as a youth, we thought fighting back is the only option. So it's quite a journey from a young high school student to become a journalist. But in my journalism career, then I had to particularly focus on the human rights violations by both parties, the government, Sri Lankan government forces, and even in particular, the violence instigated by my own community in the name of liberation. So at one point, I became an unwanted guy by both parties. So I could have been eliminated physically, and either party could do that and put the blame on the other. So that's why I had to leave the country.
So could you tell us about what does this labeling do to you?
Yes. So when there was a liberation struggle goes on, liberation in quote unquote, so if you criticize your own side, then you are being named as traitors. The key motto of the political activism in my community, traitors are much more dangerous than the enemies. So traitors need to be eliminated physically. So no dissent is tolerated, no different opinion can be counted. And how bad it is the word traitor. It's in our Tamil literature, in our culture. If among two friends, so if someone talk behind you, immediately the labeling will come, oh, you are a traitor. So the traitor means you will be outcasted among your friends, among your classroom, in your village, among relatives, So we as a political activist, when we criticized our own side in the name of liberation, saying, this is not going to liberate our people. The violence we instigate and we socialize within ourselves is not going to liberate us. It's going to eat our own community as a cancer. So, but at one point, we became isolated and kind of, we are just us, left by ourselves. So it's a very, very hard feeling to live in my own society as a traitor, because my relatives don't talk to me, my friends don't talk to me. Sometimes even in my family, behind my back, oh, what this guy is doing. Those guys are fighting and he is criticizing them, So at one point I felt living as a traitor, in a way it's very painful, but to get carrying that pain is the only way for true liberation within myself. So I willingly started writing or talking, even when I talk to people or in an interview, I start with, I am a traitor. and then go on with my speech, just to gain a strength out of that.
Okay, 24 and we are in Fukuoka, Japan. You have come from Toronto, Canada. You are heading to Colombo, Sri Lanka. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are your plans?
One of the key reasons I am going is Sri Lanka went through a civil war for 35 years. It was a bloody war, and it ended in a manner where the Tamil community, which was fighting for their just cause, lost everything, didn't gain anything out of that war. The war ended in a manner where not only the militancy was defeated, even the whole community felt that we were completely defeated and we have no hope. So only what left in my community is anger and vengeance. And on the other side, the Sinhala community, the majority community, they won the war thinking they defeated a most dangerous militant organization in the world. So the world has to learn from us. Like we are like the masters of eradicating terrorism, modern terrorism. For the Sinhala people, majority Sinhala people, they felt, oh, we saved our country. Because Sinhalese, Buddhists, this is the only country we have. For the Tamils, they have Tamil Nadu, there are so many millions of Tamils around the world. For us, so our soldiers did a heroic war. So what happened in 2009, after the defeat, there was no any sense of reconciliation, any attempt or any process to take these two communities to sit down and talk and listen to each other at least. That's the first step of healing. Forgive, forget, bringing out the truth, it's all later. But to make them sit together, and though they speak in two different languages, at least to go into the same kind of feeling, the lost for both. And we, through this war, what we actually lost in our souls, not the physical things, not the houses or the death or anything, what we lost as human beings within ourselves, the degeneration, the decadence of your feeling. So how to build that? So the biggest blockade for that is the state structure. So this 35, 40 years of war has built a huge military machine with intelligence and the media which willingly or unwillingly promote a language of like enmity towards each other, the Tamil media as well as the Sinhala media. And the clergy and the Buddhist sector and the church, everybody is polarized, you know. Though they say we have 4 major religions in the world like Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism and Islam, 4 major religions are being practiced in Sri Lanka, the essence of religions is not felt. So now there's a change of government which is trying to talk about reconciliation, and there is new hope with this new generation, with this new technology, with this Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all the world is on their palm. This young community from all communities, new generation want to see beyond this, beyond the past. So what I feel is, with my experience, with my knowledge of journalism and my language capacity and all that, being a witness, just to open up some space among this new generation to sit down and listen what other person has to say. Not commenting, not arguing whether it is right or wrong, who did what. Just the first space to sit and listen. So the media has to play a bigger role in that. Why? Because the media is the one which actually cultivate this fear, animosity, anger, revenge, and justifying the revenge. That was the major part of the media. especially after the 1980s, the media, the television media, which was brought into Sri Lanka by the very Japan on this land. I could remember when the television came in, they said, now we are taking the Sri Lankan community to the world visually. But how the media was used was talking about how dangerous the Tamils are for the Sinhalese, digging up the history of the past and how these Tamil kings from South India came to capture Sri Lanka, and those stories were developed as teledramas and visually promoted it among the Sinhalese and made every Sinhala youth to feel you are the new generation to protect the country. So the media is the one which it did. For the Tamils, they did not have any media. But when they developed, so they doubled that revenge and anger on the other side. So as a media person, because my career ended up as a journalist, so I'm thinking, using that same media to start up this dialogue within these two wounded communities, at least first step of the healing could be started. Mm-hmm. That's the purpose of my journey.
Great. Last question. Why do you still have hope?
Hope, actually, I saw with all this misery, all this anger, vengeance, killings, destruction, I have seen the enormous strength of ordinary civilians, how they stood for the right thing, how they took up challenges and took stands to protect each other with this huge state military machine and oppression, with all this media propaganda. Ordinary people, they are sometimes very illiterate. They don't even write their names. Their children don't go to school. They are very poor people. But they protected their own neighbor. So I was thinking, where does that strength actually come from? So there is some basic sense of human morality is there through this, among the Sinhalese, the Buddhism, and among the Christians, the religion they practice. Now, me, I came from a Catholic background. My mom is a very strong Catholic, and I have more than half a dozen of priests and nuns in my family. But I am a political activist, and I studied Marxism, and I am a communist. But I have helped people, and people have helped me. And later on, when I started digging up me and thinking, where did my sense of humanity came from? Then I felt it. That's what my mom taught through my religion. So same as from the Muslim community, same as the Hindus as well, I think. So I think that potential is there, rather than this big theories, big intellectual exercise, or major constitutional change and all that. Ordinary people have that real potential and strength. So as a grassroots worker, throughout my life, I think that's where my hope lies.